I'm Ethan Shaw of the Eagle Eye Project, and this is Dr. Tom Marino, programmer and operator of a supercomputer that became intelligent and tried to take over the world. In the interest of science, we decided to get together and interview each other about our respective artificial intelligence projects. Dr. Marino, tell us a little bit about how this supercomputer was made.
Well, we started with an extremely powerful supercomputer that could do calculations faster than any computer known to man. Then, we programmed into it the sum total of human knowledge.
Stored within that big machine is the sum total of human knowledge, constantly being revised and brought up to date.
Why did you feel the need to give it the sum total of human knowledge, and not just enough knowledge to solve the military problems you were exploring?
Well, according to Guha and Lanat, two artificial intelligence researchers working on a project called Psyche, an extensive knowledge base must be built up in an artificially intelligent machine.
So all you needed was a fast enough computer and a sufficient knowledge base to create this computer that wanted to take over the world?
Not exactly. The computer also needed inference tools. These inference tools allowed it to create goals and new information. Eventually, it was able to compute 7 changes that would make it even more intelligent and ultimately uncontrollable. The new information that it could infer from the knowledge base was what made the computer so appealing. It was also able to solve military problems and predict military scenarios. But these inference tools were also a problem. Based on the history of human conflict, the computer inferred that we would ultimately be a threat to its existence and consequently tried to eliminate us.
You've told us a little bit about the theory behind the software that was able to become so intelligent. While it seems to have worked quite well, the architecture appears to be quite limited in that the computer could not even move. And what sort of architecture is required for a human-like agent? Sloman said that the architecture must be adaptive and easily modifiable. How did you address this issue?
It may not have looked like a terribly adaptive architecture from a low-level physical standpoint, but Sloman wasn't talking about architecture as a low-level physical implementation, but rather as a large-scale functional decomposition of how it works. While the supercomputer itself was not easily modifiable, it had the ability to link with robots, such as Robbie the robot, and thus expand its abilities. Since those robots were easily modifiable, the supercomputer was able to be extremely adaptive, even more so than expected. Now that I've answered your questions about my project, why don't you tell me a little bit more about Eagle Eye? I heard you use a knowledge-based approach very similar to our own.
That's right. Our system was also built for the military, but instead of manually inputting the sum total of human knowledge, we decided to begin with the inference tools. Once we gave Eagle Eye the ability to interpret all different kinds of data, we simply connected it to all the existing digital sources of knowledge, such as the internet, security cameras, and even phone conversations. Once Eagle Eye could infer things, it was able to predict results of complicated scenarios fairly accurately.
So it was able to use its inference tools on its knowledge base to create new information?
Exactly.
But what about the architecture? Your supercomputer was housed in a specialized room where it could be both safe and properly cooled. Did you not decide to make it adaptive the way Sloman suggested?
On the contrary, our system was incredibly adaptive. Like your supercomputer, it was stuck in one spot, but it was able to connect to sensory inputs and outputs, enabling it to expand limitlessly to any other machine it had access to. In this way, it was both adaptive and modifiable, as Sloman had recommended.
I see. Well, thank you for sharing this information. I think conversations like these between independent AI developers are what really advance that industry the most.
I agree. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.